Tell me the truth. This was a constant refrain in my grandmother's home. She was a woman who stood perhaps 5 feet tall at her prime, and she was revered as a balabuster in the kitchen. Her briskets were renowned. Her baking was a blessing. In my college years, when I traveled through Europe with a backpack and a Ural pass, a cousin who lived in Amsterdam made sure he was on my itinerary so I could bring him some of her delicious rugelach, which no one else could replicate. Grandma baked for days and packed them with exquisite care, yet nothing could contain their buttery fragrance, which is still mingled with my memories of that trip. In our family circle, it was agreed that there was nothing that my grandmother could not prepare or a recipe she couldn't improve upon. However, with every dish and portion that she served, she also served up a tagline which never changed. Grandma would say, "Tell me the truth," meaning, tell me how much you admire my skills and are enjoying the delicious food I prepared. Tell me the truth was an invitation to praise her mastery of the culinary arts, but not one which invited a comment suggesting any changes, such as, "Grandma, could you make the cake without walnuts? And I think I would enjoy it even more." She asked for truth her way, which was the only acceptable version. My grandmother is gone more than 40 years now, and I doubt I would have thought of her refrain had it not been for our portion vayechi, in which Jacob offers his children each of the 12 tribes, with the exception of Dinah, the unadorned truth as his final blessing. Each child is addressed in age order, and each one receives the honesty they need to hear, as spoken from the perspective of a mindful parent. Jacob begins with Reuben, the eldest. "Reuben, you are my firstborn, the might and first fruit of my vigor, exceeding in rank and exceeding in honor. Unstable as water, you shall excel no longer. For when you mounted your father's bed, you brought disgrace. My couch he mounted." And while Jacob could not know how Reuben interceded with his brothers to prevent them from killing Joseph, he was entirely aware and appropriately outraged that Reuben had transgressed social norms and disregarded his father's authority when he slept with Jacob's concubine. And as a result, Reuben would come to lose the authority, which is the prerogative of the firstborn. Jacob's honest appraisal continues with his assessment of Simeon and Levi, who, after their sister Dinah was raped, orchestrated a violent retribution. Jacob said, "Simeon and Levi, you are a pair. Their weapons are tools of lawlessness. Let not my person be included in their council. Let not my being be counted in their assembly. For when angry they slay men, and when pleased they maim oxen." Jacob reviled how these two used their sister's violation as an excuse to indulge their own violent natures. Indeed, Jacob speaks a different kind of truth than what my grandmother expected, She simply wanted affirmation of her abilities, while Jacob revealed to his children aspects of their own nature which they may have hidden even from themselves. In order to grow, Jacob knew that they would need to have an honest gauge of who they were and who they could be. And isn't that exactly what these early days of the new year encourage us to do? To take a personal inventory, along with a wide, expansive look at the world in which we live. It all needs to start with knowledge, and knowledge is based on honesty and truth. When knowledge is withheld, we don't have enough information to exercise our autonomy or our ability to grow. The importance of truth-telling may be understood more clearly when seen through the developments in the practice of modern medicine. Long regarded as one of the secular priestly traditions, where the doctor was the sole authority, and it was assumed that they knew what was best for their patients, and in that context, what a patient wanted was not material. My husband, who is a medical ethicist and historian, explained that this practice persisted before scientific method became part of or was applied to medicine. The art of medicine had to become a science before truth-telling and the idea of the right to informed consent could be realized. If one is going to make a choice, they need to have information. And should information be withheld, there's no way to make an informed choice. And as we know from our own experience with modern medicine, knowledge is essential for discernment. While we are among the most educated society civilization has ever produced, we currently struggle to have access to broader knowledge. In recent years, there has been an explosion of misinformation defined as incorrect or misleading information. Disinformation, defined by Merriam-Webster as false information deliberately and often covertly spread in order to influence public opinion or obscure the truth. And here the dictionary uses planting rumors as an example. And more, simply when websites are scrubbed, when universities are forced to amend or eliminate classes, professors, or even departments, when books are removed from public library shelves because they don't accord with the government's outlook, when statistics are no longer kept current or shared only with a privileged circle, access is surely impeded, opaque, and elusive. And all this has been accelerated by artificial intelligence, which can amplify misinformation, bias, and lies with the click of the keyboard, making misinformation appear real and reality untrue. It is an Alice in Wonderland moment that gets repeated countless times throughout the day, and such distortions can be hugely consequential when dealing with history and its true lessons. Listen to the wisdom spoken by the historian Deborah Lipstadt, author of Denying the Holocaust, The Growing Assault on Truth and Memory, who faced a lengthy trial against David Irving, who sued her for calling him a Holocaust denier. After its successful conclusion, she said this, which is pertinent to us now as we try to find our way discerning fact from opinion. Defending history and truth, she said, many of us have been taught to think that there are facts and there are opinions. After studying deniers, I think differently. There are facts, there are opinions, and there are lies. And what deniers want to do is take their lies, dress them up as opinions, maybe edgy opinions, maybe sort of out-of-the-box opinions. But then if they're opinions, they should be part of the conversation. And then they encroach upon the facts. She continued to ask, so why is my story more than just the story of a quirky, long, 6-year difficult lawsuit, an American professor being dragged into a courtroom by a man that the court declared in its judgment was a neo-Nazi polemicist? What message does it have? I think the context of the question of truth, it has a very significant message because today, as we well know, truth and facts are under assault. Social media, for all the gifts it has given us, has also allowed the difference between facts, established facts, and lies to be flattened. Lipstadt importantly concluded that truth is not relative. Many of us have grown up in the world of the academy and enlightened liberal thought, where we're taught that everything is open to debate. But that's not the case. There are certain things that are true. There are indisputable facts, objective truths. The earth is not flat. The climate is changing. Elvis is not alive. And most importantly, truth and fact are under assault. The job ahead of us, the task ahead of us, the challenge ahead of us is great. That reflection was made in 2017, and things have only continued to progress, and not for the better. Today we know that the institutions which were created to safeguard our liberties, our health, and our climate, by adhering to the truth, are failing us. We don't need to review here how entities that we have historically relied upon, which are fundamental to a democratic society, are increasingly thwarted from their role of acting as a watchdog, leaving us with less governmental accountability and transparency rather than more. A current example speaks for the whole. What is a young parent to do when the recommendations for childhood vaccinations are in dispute, when the government and the American Academy of Pediatrics dispute scientific facts, dispute the truth? And perhaps the best counsel is still that of the late Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan, who said, "Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but not their own facts." Turning now to the wisdom of our own tradition, may we learn from the prayer that Rabbi Mordechai Kaplan used at the beginning of each of his classes, in which he spoke of the centrality of truth. From the cowardice that shrinks from new truth, from the laziness that is content with half-truths, from the arrogance that thinks it knows all truth. O God of truth, deliver us. In this new year, may we be strengthened by courage, fortitude, and humility as we seek truth. Ken Yehi Ratzon. May it be so.